Poised for Exit is a show for business owners who want to achieve a successful exit based on their own terms. Your business exit will likely be the biggest financial transaction of your life, and for most, you'll have one shot at doing it right. The topics and guests we feature and the stories they share will provide valuable ideas and strategies to improve operations and grow enterprise value so you can achieve the best possible exit outcome. Now here's your host, award-winning certified exit planning advisor, Julie.
Welcome, everyone, to the Poised for Exit podcast show. Our guests today are fellow faculty members of mine with the Exit Planning Institute and a partnership whose specialty is in life after business planning. If this is a topic that you as a business owner struggle with, or you as an advisor need some tips in discussing with your clients, these experts will have the answers. We're going to hear from them right after these messages.
Thinking about selling your business in the next few years? Don't wait to start planning. I've seen too many business owners wait too long and regret it. Freedom Financial Partners are financial advisors who specialize in exit planning for business owners, helping you reduce tax surprises, protect what you've built, and quantify how much you need from the sale. Their proven process helps you think beyond your business so you can move forward with clarity and confidence. The longer you wait, the fewer options you may have. Download your free financial readiness assessment today at ffpforme.com/exit. That's ffpforme.com/exit.
My name is Todd Grau, and I'm the president of the Twin Cities Exit Planning Chapter. If you're a business owner and advisor and want to learn more about the world of exit planning, you're invited to visit the Twin Cities chapter of the Exit Planning Institute. You can expect top-level education delivered by subject matter experts at every monthly meeting. Grow your network and draw from the learning that could be a game changer for your business or your practice. There's no pressure to become a member, so come and see what the buzz is all about. Our meetings are held the second Wednesday of the month, 7:30 to 9 a.m. See the show notes for more information and registration links.
Are you a business owner getting ready to transition? If so, I recommend True North Mergers and Acquisitions as your confidential strategic partner. They understand your business sale isn't just about one buyer and the price, but what you net that counts. In other words, what you get to keep. When you're ready for a higher level of representation that delivers consistent results, contact True North M&A to do the heavy lifting of selling your business. Learn more at tnma.com. That's tnma.com.
Exiting your business is a big deal, both financially and emotionally. I'm John Marquet, Certified Exit Planning Advisor with TrustPoint. We help business owners transition smoothly on their terms. Our focus is on maximizing value, minimizing stress, and giving you confidence in what's next. Whether you're selling or passing the torch, we make the process seamless. Start planning today at trustpointinc.com. That's trustpointinc.com.
Hello, Poised for Exit listeners. We are here today with Susan Latremoille and Marianne Oehser. Susan and Marianne, welcome to Poised for Exit.
Thanks, Julie. It's great to be here with you.
I'm so excited to have you. Yeah, for sure. We met through the Exit Planning Institute, like I said in the opener of the show, and you are fellow faculty members with me, and you own a firm that specializes in, I like to call it next act planning. So it's an amazing part of exit planning, I think, the most exciting part for the owners and also the most overlooked.
Exactly. You're so right on about it being overlooked. In the value acceleration methodology in the exit planning world, there are three legs to the stool. And as we all know, a stool can't stand unless it has three equal legs. But you're right, this personal readiness for exit has been sorely overlooked. And it's high time now that this come to the table and be a benefit both to the owners that are exiting as well as their professionals that are advising them.
Yeah, and the softer side of exit planning isn't always easy for many advisors to address or bring up with owners because so many times it's difficult for owners to put a finger on what it is that they actually want. But I know the two of you are experts at that, like I said earlier. Before we dive into our content, though, I would love to have you just share a little bit about your backgrounds and how did you come together as partners? What made you decide to join forces?
Sure. I'll jump in first here, Julie. For 38 years, I was a financial advisor myself, working with my clients, many of whom were business owners as they built their businesses, built their wealth. And then some of them I worked with for decades, they were selling their companies or stepping away from their careers. And what I noticed was that many of them were not as happy as they thought they would be. And I'd always prided myself on being a holistically minded advisor and bringing holistic services. And I thought, all I'm doing is preparing them financially, but I'm missing out on and helping them really live their best life possible with the wealth that they have created. And so that was really the prompt for me to decide to step away from the financial side and focus the next part of my career exclusively on the non-financial side of this major life transition called exit, retirement, whatever you want to call it, sale of a business or whatever. So that prompted me to then take the retirement coaches certification through the Retirement Coaches Association. And it was through that that I had the good fortune of meeting Marianne, my current business partner, and that was back in 2020. So we formed Next Chapter Lifestyle Advisors 5 years ago, working with both financial advisors and clients. Marianne, you've got an interesting side to your story.
And my background is very different than Susan in that
Sure.
I had a 40-year career in the corporate world. And when I exited that, I knew I needed to go to something. And I became a relationship coach, which I love doing. And in the process, though, I worked with so many couples that said the same thing, that they used to have great relationships and now they're struggling. And the common denominator was this next chapter that they were not navigating very successfully, which led me to retirement coaching. And just the partnership between Susan and I is one of those really amazing ones. All of her strengths are my weaknesses and vice versa. A testament to that is for the first 3.5 years that we were partners, we had not physically met because that was pandemic time. And
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
yeah. So our partnership thrives in spite of the fact that it's mostly long distance.
Well, I have experienced listening to you speak and both at the summit and in other situations around the Exit Planning Institute events, and so impressed with not only your backgrounds, but how you work together and how you actually really spend time walking alongside clients, going through an exit and helping them with whatever that next act is and how important that is. But let's talk about what some of the common obstacles might be, like the emotional changes, lifestyle changes. Sometimes they resist exit.
Absolutely. That's so true. How many times have advisors got to the 11th hour on an exit? The paperwork is signed, everything is ready to go, and the owner pulls the plug on it. And
Yeah.
it's not because of anything financial or technical. It's because of this fear that they have that when they let go of that baby, their life is over. They are not the same person that they were when they were building the company. So then that leads to these issues that you referenced, Julie, the psychological and emotional issues that we have a little acronym for called SIPs. So the first S stands for social connection. And social connection is for many people, the people they work with. In a case
Yes.
of a business owner, their teams, their employees, their customers, or suppliers. And when they exit, a lot of those relationships fall by the wayside and they lose those connections. So that's the first, I'd say, loss that people experience. Another huge one, the I in SIPs, is identity. Because they're known by their business card, by being the
Yes.
owner, the president, whatever of a company.
Right.
And when they take that business card away, it doesn't mean anything anymore. So we say that people go from a who's who to a who's he or a who's she overnight without
Wow.
identity. That's a
That's
big one.
powerful. Yeah.
Of course, purpose, the P in SIP stands for purpose, and everybody needs a reason to get up in the morning. And for business owners, they've got lots of purpose, really, in growing a business and selling their products or services and so on. But without that, it's important for people to find new purpose, and many people struggle with what is my new purpose if I'm not the owner of this company. And then the final S in SIPs stands for structure. And we all know the work week is kind of 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, very punctuated, and the weekends are a different story. But in that, if there's no plan for their next act, as you call it, or next chapter, as we call it, then, it leads to some really bad habits, sleeping in the morning, maybe flipping on the TV, having a cocktail at lunchtime, hitting the bar, and like this structure just goes away. Maybe their
Right.
workouts suffer, and other important things in their life. So there are a lot of emotional and psychological challenges that owners face when they exit. Just to recap, social connection, identity, purpose, and structure are the big ones. And Julian, those are just the basic challenges and psychological issues that owners face. But in addition to that, when someone has been at the top of their game, they've been like the pinnacle of success, then the additional struggles have to do with that status, perhaps the power, the prestige, the respect they've had in the community, and so on. So we find that business owners have the biggest struggle. It's, if you're just working in a boring job and you're punching a clock and doing something menial, you don't have those kind of struggles. But when you've been driven and you are a driver and you've reached that level of success, and now you're going to monetize the success you've created, then these are real challenges for most business owners.
Do many of them find that as they're planning out and with your help planning out what's next, that they want to stay involved or engaged in some kind of going concern, or like as a consultant, or like how do they use the skills and talents and things like that that they built up over all these years? Because
Mhm.
I mean, that kind of stuff doesn't really go away. We want to continue to
Exactly. And I'm a
own that.
big advocate of people keeping their finger in their professional pie, so to speak.
Sure.
And that because there's so much wisdom and experience that they've built up over that lifetime.
Exactly.
It's a shame for that to go to waste, either for themselves or for others. So I'm
Yeah.
a big advocate of keeping that aspect of their professional life alive somehow.
Mm.
So right now he was an owner of a company, but he's now on the board. So he's not day to day, but he's still involved. We have other clients who go on and do consulting in their field. So there are many ways for owners to stay connected, but there's a risk that if the line isn't drawn in the sand clearly, that they get sort of back in and start meddling in the business. And that doesn't let that next gen or the new owners really run the show the way they want to, and it can create some hard feelings. So that's the downside of it, unless it's planned carefully. But I'm a huge advocate of not losing those years of wisdom and experience and putting them to good use somehow.
I'm so glad to hear that, because that is a conversation I have with my clients often. Let's not let everything that you've learned and built be for naught, right? How else can we repurpose and how else can we reuse it while we're taking chips off the table or removing liability or giving you some more freedom to decide how you're going to spend your days? Do you think, though, I'm wondering, in your opinion, is there any correlation between company size and resistance?
Not really. It has more to do with the temperament, the personality of the owner, and the big factor is what they're moving on to do. So
Yes.
if there's no vision for life after exit, that's a problem. But we've worked in the work that we do in helping people plan their next chapter. Quite often they get excited about what's next and they're looking forward to moving on. So it's like a chapter is closed when they exit, but it's not the end of the book. They've still got, another whole life ahead of them. And let's face it, people today can live another 20, 30 years after they exit or even more. So
Mhm.
it's become super important that they have that purposeful plan for what is next.
And something to look forward to, for
Yeah,
sure. Yeah.
absolutely.
I love the SIPS acronym. I'm going to use that if you don't mind. I'll give you credit for it, but yeah, that's awesome. We have to put that in the show notes. So let's talk about rich life mindset. That's a practice of yours, you and Marianne, and happiness portfolio. Those both just sound so intriguing. Tell us about those.
Sure. I'll start with Rich Life, which was really the subject of a book that I wrote back in 2006 called The Rich Life: Managing Wealth and Purpose. And the reason I wrote the book is that I was dealing as a financial advisor with high net worth clients who had more money than they could ever spend in their lifetime, many of them, but they were always hungry to earn more. And I would ask them the question, so what's all this money for? What is the purpose of this money? And many of them didn't have a purpose for this money. And I thought, rich doesn't mean just the richest man in the graveyard with the most money. It means a life that's full, robust, joyous, happy, and so on. So I decided that rich was a good word to describe the kind of life that I wanted my clients to have. Then the mantra for a rich life came along, which is live well, give back, leave a legacy. And when I think about it in exit planning terminology, it's kind of like going from a successful life to a significant life. How do you do that? It's not just having a successful to a significant business, but having a successful to a significant life. So I believe that involves living well, however you define it, giving back, whether that be your time, your talents, or your financial resources, and then how do you want to be remembered, that legacy piece. So that's the rich life, and the rich life mindset is approaching life with that lens.
I love that.
Fortunately, when I met Marianne and we formed Next Chapter, she had written a book called Your Happiness Portfolio for Retirement. In brackets, it's not about the money. Not that the money isn't important, but the book isn't about the money. And she brilliantly created this notion of the happiness portfolio. So just like a financial portfolio, the happiness portfolio of life is really having balance and diversification, just like a good financial portfolio. And it consists of 8 asset classes, as we call them, or 8 areas of life. Julie already touched on one, professional. And for some, that's still an important part of their next chapter, as it is for Marianne and me. And others, they just say, no, I'm done with anything to do with work. I'm going to focus on the other 7 areas. And so to carry on with the happiness portfolio, then there's your significant partner, your life partner or significant friend, family and friends. Many business owners haven't spent the time with their families or their friends during the build-up. So that's a very important part of it. Then there's self-development. Business keeps your mind active. How are you going to replace that? Health and well-being, health and wellness. Again, we see that a lot of business owners don't have time to get to the gym or eat proper meals. So that becomes a priority as we age. And then there's emotional and psychological health as well. A lot of people find that they're taking up more like Tai Chi, yoga, meditation, things like that in this next chapter. And then, of course, there's giving back. We talked about that, which is part of the rich life mindset as well. And leisure. And this is an interesting area because a lot of people think that leisure equals next chapter, or retirement and leisure are synonymous.
Yeah, right.
But, people they're not happy long term if all they're doing is traveling on airplanes and playing golf. We found that time and again that people tell us, my aspiration is, to buy a place in the sun and play golf and travel. And then they come back after a period of time and they say, kind of sick of airplanes and sleeping in hotel rooms. I'd just like to be at home. And then, like it happened to one of my clients who his dream, his business owner that sold, his dream was going to Florida and playing golf. And he came back after a winter in Florida and he said to me, I'm just so bored with these same guys I'm playing with every day. And I'm frustrated. My golf game hasn't got any better. And besides, I've have a shoulder injury strain from playing so much. So like his
Wow.
dream was pretty dashed by the fact that, you can't, just like you can't eat chocolate all day long, you can't play golf every single day and still love it as much as when it's punctuated by other things in your life. So leisure is an important area, but not the whole picture for sure. So anyway, this is what makes up the happiness portfolio, and the foundation of that really is that rich life mindset. And that's the model that we use when we're working with business owners, is to help them create this happiness portfolio so they can live their next chapter with the kind of enjoyment and importance that they had in their careers.
So when we think about the exit planning process, we know that a collaborative team is really required for a successful transition, regardless of whether it's an exit or a partner buyout or buy-in or family, generational transfer. Those are all transitions. That's one thing that I do like to emphasize with clients, is that exit is a form of transition. It's not the only transition, right? And you and I both, even though we're playing at different, in playing in different roles and at different sides of the table. We're at the same table, and there are other advisors who are also at the table. What are some of the things that other advisors at the table, like the financial planners and advisors, the attorneys, how can they help with, supporting this personal side of transition or exit for the client, right? So it's not just our voice, it's like us united, so to
Yeah,
speak.
true. I think the first thing is for professional advisors of any stripe to become educated about what next chapter really is. Because a lot of advisors still have the notion, the same as their clients, that it's all about travel, golf, and having leisure. So I think importantly that advisors understand what some of the challenges are that their clients are facing or could face, and
Mhm.
also what challenges they might face as they exit as well. After they've become educated, then I think it's important for the advisors to start educating their clients in that three legs of the stool mind frame that this personal readiness and personal planning is just as important, and in some cases more important than some of the technical sides of things. So by bringing that prominence to the forefront, they start to help their business owner clients to think about these things. Now, we don't expect financial advisors or attorneys to become experts in personal readiness, and we find a lot of them are just don't know how to do it because it's not something they're trained in. They're strong in their technical skills, but this is a different conversation. So part of what we do is train advisors how to broach the subject, how to have that conversation. And that's what our masterclass in September is going to be all about as well, is having that conversation. But really, if when you talked about the collaborative team, Julie, it's about bringing the players to the table. And traditionally, personal planner has not been part of that collaborative team, but things are changing now. And a good team structure would include someone like Marianne and myself or others that are skilled in this area and that have a process really for helping that business owner. For the financial planners, I would say that it's critically important that they understand what the life plan of the client is in order to do a good financial plan. For example, if the client says, with I'm going to be netting millions from my sale of my business, and here are my life plans. I'm going to buy a ski chalet. That's a couple million. I'm going to start a philanthropic foundation. That's a huge number if they want it to be. I'm going to set up education funds for my grandchildren. Well, unless you know those kinds of things about what your client is planning, how can you properly do the financial plan? How can you do those proper projections for what their personal financial plan looks like? So we believe that having this lifestyle plan in place prior to exit is really raw material for the advisors to do the work. And that extends beyond the financial planner also to the estate planner. Again, doing the proper wills, etc. So really
Yeah.
important for this collaboration to be happening.
Yeah, for sure. I bet you collaborate a lot, especially with the wealth managers. That would make total sense to me.
Yeah, and I
And
think the wealth managers are really the prime because
yeah,
as being one myself, I would see my clients quarterly in some cases, a couple of times a year. So you have that ongoing relationship with them. Where
yes.
if you're a transaction specialist, M&A, or you're a lawyer on the deal, or you're just doing taxes and you see your client once a year, you're not in that fortunate position of having that ongoing relationship. So I believe the wealth managers, financial planners, and advisors are the key professionals to take this on.
I agree 100%. I'm so glad that you brought that up. I love the concept of that next act isn't just about leisure because yeah, we do get bored. And the thing about entrepreneurs is they tend to be pretty trailblazing, right? They have great ideas. They're not always great ideas, but they have a lot of ideas, and that's not going to stop. The drive and the motivation and the doer part of who they are isn't going to stop. And so I love the fact that you and Marianne are really helping them to orchestrate the best part of their life, right? That's the way I would see it anyway, if I were in that position. And I will be soon. So let's talk about what's coming up for you. You mentioned briefly that you're going to be teaching a masterclass for EPI. So I'd like to learn more about that. We will, listeners, we will have information about that in the show notes so that you'll be able to click and register or learn more. But let's just talk about that for a minute.
Sure. So we recognize that in addition to the basic module day one of the SEPA program, which just started this year, so for any SEPAs that were graduated before this year, they didn't get access to any of this personal readiness material. But right now, module one, day one of the SEPA program has our stuff in it. We also have a course in this EPI Academy for advisors that want to, or SEPAs that want to learn more. But the SEPA Masterclass is something that Marianne and I are doing on our own because of that very fact that many SEPAs and advisors don't really know how to start the conversation, don't really understand what next chapter planning is all about or the significance of it. So there's really an opportunity for SEPAs that are interested in putting more than a toe in the water to learn more about it. So that'll be on September 24th from 12 to 1 Eastern time. And we invite all SEPAs, whether they're experienced and have been doing it for a long time or they're newly graduated, to join the masterclass. There'll be new material presented in that. In addition to that, we do have a program for financial advisors called First Movers. And this is an opportunity for advisors to access all of our materials and resources on an ongoing basis. So it's a subscription based. When someone signs on, I do a strategy session with them. How are you going to implement this into your current processes and practice? And then there's a huge library of resources. We do client-facing webinars. We have a series of 6. There's just a whole lot of value in the First Movers program. And then I guess the other thing for SEPAs to know is that if they have a client that is sort of either reluctant to move on or is moving on and scared or afraid of what's next, or they've tried to so-called retire and it's not working, that we have our next chapter game plan process. So it's a 5-step process that we actually take business owners and their spouses through, because it's important that the spouses be engaged in this next chapter planning. And so really there are several ways for us to help SEPAs and business owners with this major, as you call it, this major life transition.
Fantastic. So for our listeners who are members of my monthly cohort, Marianne and Susan are going to be our featured speakers coming up for our next session. So just make a note of that. Unfortunately, Marianne's internet wasn't working, and so we lost her. But we got to hear from her a little bit. And thank you, Susan, for filling in. And I'm sure the two of you know the program and all the content, obviously, because you delivered such amazing advice. Love the stories, love the work that you're doing so much. And you know, there's so many advisors out there who are thinking, yeah, I've had clients who have not had a successful transition. Not that they didn't get what they wanted financially, but that on the other side of it, they feel like they failed.
Yeah.
We
And
know
it's
what the
true,
statistics
and
are, right?
yeah, we do know the statistics. API's research is one thing that is really points to the fact that 75% of business owners regret exiting in the first year anyway. And that's a huge number.
Yeah,
Terrible to spend your life building a company and then walk out and regret it. And a lot of that has to do with lack of a plan that they're excited about that they can move on to.
definitely. Well, there's going to be more for our listeners to participate in and find out about. So just make sure that you check out those show notes and contact Susan and Marianne to learn more about their business and more about the events that they have coming up that you can register for. Thank you so much, Susan, for joining us today. I so appreciate it. This is a topic we haven't covered in a long time, and you and Marianne are the perfect people to be featured. So I appreciate it. We'll have to have you back.
Great, Julie. Thanks so much.
Thank you. And thanks also to our listeners and our sponsors. Please join us again next time.